So the query builder is meant to be able to extract data from the Advantzware system based on a query string that is effectively kind of similar to what the underlying guts, I guess, of reports that you would run or see in the system would look like. And the tool is meant to be able to kind of empower those power users of the system to be able to go in there and get data based on any criteria they can think of from any table in the system as well. And one thing that would accompany any of our custom report builders that would be both the query builder tool and the custom report building through Advantzware Open Analytics is something like this, which will be a data dictionary. The data dictionary is a registry of every table and every field in the system where we store data. So, for example, if you're looking up here, this is a quick view of the way we'd access the customer file. I hit C, it gives me all the things that start with C. I look at the customers table. Here are all the fields that are available in the customers table. And some of them are documented. Some of them have labels so that you can see what they are. Some of them have extra descriptions. But it'll at least give you an idea of what's what within the system. Furthermore, you can use the Advantzware system, and I might have showed this already, but anywhere within our system, if you're editing the tool, let's say if you went into IF1, for instance, and you wanted to look at well, what field is represented by this category, you can update, and within here, hit the F3 key, and it will also tell you, normally you'd be looking at the text here, but there's other information up above that shows you, well, what field corresponds to the actual database field that is being presented here. So in this case, it's IdenFG ProCat. So those are the building blocks, and this is the level that Query Builder functions on. It's directly to the database itself. So let me show you what Query Builder looks like. So the access point through Query Builder is it's a system administration tool. It's under the reports for admin, so NR9. Okay. So the Query Builder is, as I mentioned, a way to build a query string. That's what's happened over here in this box right here. You'll start to see this fill up with the syntax as I select and choose things over here on the left. It also allows you to specify what fields you want to have brought back into the custom report, and allows you to be able to export things into Excel or CSV. So I'm going to show you all of that right now. For instance, I'm going to do a sample query, a simple one. I just want all the customers that are active in, let's say, New York or Pennsylvania. So the first step is this first drop down here. This lists all the tables, and this corresponds to those tables that you saw in the data dictionary. Once you find the one that you want, and we know in this case it's going to be customer, I can then also pick the fields, and that's what this button is right here, that I'm ultimately going to want to display on my output. You can multiply select them, so I'm going to choose customer number and name, city, state, and zip. And I guess we'll do the addresses too. So when I say OK to that, the display fields come here in my display field section, and I'm starting to build my report. You can see that as soon as I selected customer, it started to build my query. If I were just to run this right now, it would give me every customer in the system, and it would give me these 7 fields for every customer in the system. So I don't want to do that because it's unnecessary. I want it to narrow it down even more. And so that's what this section below that main selection does for us. So in this drop down is every field that's available on the selected table field. So the case I wanted to look at is, first of all, each company is represented in your system. If you only have one company, you still have to most likely specify that you want your company 001, and this is the company that gets chosen when you first log in. So in the main code, your company location, in my example here, I have an advanced box company. It's company 001. That's going to be one of the fundamental pieces of most all the queries, is what company you're actually looking at. So I'm going to choose company 001. And as I tab out of this, it's starting to create my query over here. I want to continue to specify more criteria, so I'm going to choose and, which means that it, this must be true and the next thing must be true. I'm going to say active equals A for active. It's going to build that. And I'm going to also say and the state is New York, or the state is PA. So one thing I wanted to point out here is you can see the way that this logic works, and this kind of requires a little bit of a programmer's mind to kind of decipher. I need to make sure that I group customer state New York and customer PA in one separate thing, because what I'd be doing here is saying I want everything with customer 001 that's active and in New York, or any customer that's in PA. So we have the ability to set these parentheses up, and that's what this checkbox does here, to start and end your criteria. So now I have a query that says I want any customer in 001 that's active and in either New York or Pennsylvania. So key distinction there. So what you can do as you're looking at this is check the syntax. So things can get a bit complicated. You might miss parentheses and things like that. You can hit that check syntax button. It'll let you know that it's going to work. And when you're ready to process, you just hit the process button. This is a mini view of it. You can hit this button right here to expand that. There's our report. So if you wanted to add additional columns to this, you can always go back and do that. We can come back and add more fields. So if we want to include the customer type, let's say, and their salesman, I just control select those, run process again, and now I get that added information on my report. So what I can do then from that is come to file, a couple of different options. One is I can save this. So if I wanted to give this a report, a name, so I'm going to call this customers in New York and PA. I can now save that. I'm going to put this in my documents folder. It saves as a .qry file, so that I can reopen and come back in with that base again to either tweak it or add more criteria. So if you wanted to have some generalized ones, you can save a base and then come in and further refine them. That's one option that you could do with Query Builder. So if you wanted to then export to Excel or CSV, the CSV is just a scaled back version of Excel. It's just a comma separated list. It doesn't have any formatting. But exporting to Excel will launch the Excel tool. It's going to start give you an update down here of what it's doing, exporting the data, it's formatting the print view, and gives you your output. So it also does a nice little format where it locks the top level, so you can kind of see, you can scroll down and let the headers remain where they are. It's a little advanced over a regular CSV. But this is exactly what I asked for, and has all the New York and PA customers, and allows us to really continue to extend that query or extend more fields, and also calculate things in Excel. And I'll show you a little more complicated example for that. Let's say I wanted to see every open order for one specific customer, and I want to see the total square feet of each of those items on the order. So this is a multiple table query, but I'll show you how we can build that. So I'm going to clear out my query here. I'm going to give this a new name. We'll call this demo order SF report. So the first thing I'm going to choose here is my order, and then you can hit start the type ahead here. I'm going to scroll down to OE org. And again, I want my master choice to be company B001 and the customer. And I'm going to use one of my customers here, 0B100. Okay. And I don't need that extra and actually on the end of it. Now I need to do more than just get the order. So right now this would be any order for my customer ZOV100. There might be hundreds of those if you don't specify more. So I'm additionally going to say I want everything that's not closed. So this little drop down here in the middle, I have a status field. My drop down defaults to equals, but I can also use these alternative logic matches. So this little thing with the greater than less than sign means not equal. Greater than equal to, less than equal to, begins with or matches. So I'm going to choose not equal to, and I'm going to say C. So I don't want closed orders. So now that'll take out anything that's a closed order. Okay, but I now need more information about this order. I need the lines on the order. So I need to know more about what items than I actually sold on the orders. So now I need to add another table to this. And I need to get the order line table. I know that this is the particular thing I need to associate. Now you have two ways of linking the orders. One is through this drop down right here that says of. It just so happens that my of OE org lets me say, give me every order line of my main order. This of option doesn't necessarily work for every option, which is why we have to check syntax to make sure that it does. So syntax is correct there. So I've got every order line for all these orders that are above here. But the order line, let's just say, for instance, I think it might, but let's say, for instance, we don't have the information about the square footage. Well, I want to make sure that I add, I need to link then the finished good item to that. So there's two ways to link, and I'll show you the other example here. So I'm going to go to my item FG field. We saw that in my initial demo. Where, and now I'm going to specify specifics. I'm going to say where company also equals 001 and the item number. And this time I have to type in that the order line and that's a misspelling. That I want to use the item number from the order line to link up my value. And we'll just type it better, sorry. Okay. And I forgot my and symbol. So as you can see up here, it's starting to build my whole thing, and I can continue to kind of double check to make sure my syntax is working as I'm editing, and everything's good to go. So now, if you notice my display fields, if I just ran process, it's going to look like nothing happened. Their data being returned and data being returned pretty quickly, we have to select the fields again. So I'm going to choose the order number from the header. From the line, I'm going to choose the item, the name, and the quantity. And from the finished good, I'm going to choose the product category, which I looked at before, and the total square feet, TS2FT. So now I have a 5-column or 6-column report That gives me the total square feet times the quantity. I'm sorry, well, the quantity of the order line. So if I process this, pretty quick report, gives me a list of all of the items for every order, every item, total quantity, lists out the product category, and the total square feet of the item on there. So if I wanted to calculate a total square feet based on the quantity, I need to calculate and multiply this column times this column. You can also do that through here by adding a calculated field. So I'm going to add a calculated field. I'm going to call this the total ordered square feet. It's going to be a decimal value. And the formula is going to be order quantity times, double click that and add it to the top, times the item square feet. So now I've built my formula here that's going to be giving me a calculated formula of the two things. So this, when I process the preview of this, this calculation isn't done, and here's a note that says that they're only displayed in Excel after you export. So it's not going to give me any value here, but when I export again to Excel, and it's processing, it's formatting, opening. So I had an error in my logic, but basically what I have here is a formula that started for me that is an equal sign and will give me the total calculated square footage. So when I go back and make my correction on my calculated field, because I forgot to use the Excel format of the equal first. Export it again, close this. Export it again. And there we are. So, questions? We can start to take questions.
Leo, you still there?
You want to maybe stop the recording?
I'm sorry. I had my phone on mute. I didn't want you guys to hear. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, this is it's pretty impressive. Wow.
So yeah, so you're probably going to qualify as a power user that would be able to be, with some support, be able to drive and build these queries whenever you want. But the cool thing about them is that you can save them again. So if I wanted to save this guy, I can start from here again, and you can have these templates that you build from and say, well, I already have one that I know gives me all the invoices. Let's say, I forgot that I want this report to also have this other field on it. So when you go back to one that you already opened, reopen it. So if I went back to my other customers in New York, it starts you off right where you left off.
Yeah.
Actually, I opened the wrong one there. I clicked the wrong one, but that's the idea. So you have the starting point and a template that can help you build these queries and get anything that we can get out of it, basically.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Cool. So yeah, I think the demo is relatively straightforward. That there's obviously we can do tons and tons more examples, and we can post a link to what we can do, but they're all just variants on that same theme.
Yeah, you do have the capability to do the lookups like we do in Advantzware. Is that right?
So like here, if you want.
When you were in that, in that field there, for instance, that's what I'm thinking.
We don't have it enabled yet. Yeah, we don't have it enabled yet. And so that's
Right. So you just need to know. You need to know the.
It's a good idea. You'd have to know sort of specifically the value, right? So this is
Right.
this
Okay.
is just an editable field. I'd also like to, the way that you have to know the field and refer to it that way. That works perfectly, but I'd also be great to have a little feedback where you can link automatically things. But that's, there's always ideas for us to enhance too, just like any other enhancements or mods that would be available for this too. So just need some ideas,
All right.
and to push us in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, if Tony, if you could get me pricing on both, and then we'll kind of try to decide which way we want to go with this. But I like this better, actually. I kind of like the query builder better myself. Not that I'm a programmer, but I have a little bit of experience working with Crystal reports from years ago, and this is kind of bringing back some of that, some of those skills that I had back then.
Right. Yeah, and if you're using Crystal reports, I think it's a little easier than Crystal. I mean, it's more targeted, but for the progress developer, this is the language I know in terms of with Crystal you're writing those select statements, right? They're a little different, but exactly the same concept. Setting up your tables that you want to pull from, and you're picking your columns that you want to get from those, and setting up your where clause to say filter it out.
Okay.